Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're actually embarking on a bit of a scientific manhunt. Our mission is to track down a 150-year-old physics paradox, this phantom concept that scientists have literally been arguing over for generations. But here's the thing. We aren't looking for it in some dusty textbook or, inside a massive supercomputer. We are looking for it hiding right inside our very own cells. So get ready, because what we're going to uncover today absolutely challenges our fundamental understanding of how biological life actually powers itself.
So this brings us to the core mystery we're unpacking today. Can a microscopic motor actually break the laws of physics? Now, as investigators of the natural world, this is pretty much the highest stakes question we can possibly ask. We've always been taught that the second law of thermodynamics is absolute, right? Systems lose energy to heat, entropy always increases, and you basically can't get something for nothing. But when you zoom all the way down to the microscopic scale, into the chaotic, turbulent environment of a living cell, well, those rigid rules might just have a loophole.
Okay, let's dive into this by defining our primary suspect. Back in 1867, the physicist James Clerk Maxwell proposed this incredibly famous thought experiment, which everyone now calls Maxwell's demon. Just imagine a tiny, highly intelligent entity, a demon, that operates a little door between two chambers of gas. By measuring the speed of the individual molecules, this demon only lets the fast, hot ones into one side and the slow, cold ones into the other. So, without doing any traditional physical work, the demon is using information to create a temperature difference. It's extracting energy from random thermal fluctuations. It essentially appears to locally break the second law of thermodynamics. To really understand what we're hunting for here, let's contrast our suspect with what we normally expect to see. On one hand, you've got a conventional engine, like the one in your car or a traditional power plant. It consumes fuel, it does work, and it inevitably dissipates heat out into its environment. But on the other hand, we have our Maxwell's demon, which acts as an information engine. Instead of dissipating heat, a demon actually absorbs heat from its chaotic environment and then uses information about that environment to convert the chaos into directed, useful work. So we need to step out of the realm of 19th century thought experiments and enter the actual physical world where this might be happening. Which brings us to Section 1, Biology's Microscopic Transporters, the habitat of the demon. Inside our bodies right now, we have these incredible biological machines called molecular motors. And the primary suspect in our investigation today is one called kinesin. Kinesin's day job is basically acting as a tiny courier. It consumes chemical energy to literally pull essential cargo along the cytoskeletal filaments of our cells. But it's doing this in a microscopic world that is vastly different from our own. It operates in an environment of omnipresent, stochastic, which just means random, fluctuations. Down at that scale, the ambient thermal energy of the environment is incredibly powerful. In fact, it's directly comparable to the energy scales of the motor itself. It's kind of like trying to walk forward while being constantly battered by hurricane-force winds from every possible direction. So if kinesin is operating in this insane, chaotic environment, is it just fighting the storm, or is it acting like a Maxwell demon and actually using that storm to its advantage? That brings us to Section 2, the measurement problem, the main obstacle in our hunt. See, the tricky part is, we can't just catch this demon red-handed by looking at it. To definitively prove demon-like behavior, we must measure the heat flow of the specific subsystem. We have to see if heat is actually flowing into the cargo system from the environment. But mathematically, doing that requires us to track all the moving parts, the motor's precise position and the cargo's precise position simultaneously. And here's the catch. That is generally intractable with today's single-molecule experiments. We literally just can't resolve both degrees of freedom at the exact same time. The demon's too fast, and the scale is way too small. So, if we can't catch the demon by direct observation, we're going to have to outsmart it. Let's get into Section 3, building the demon trap, using a statistical estimator. The researchers behind this source material developed an absolutely ingenious mathematical tool. It allows us to infer both the direction and the magnitude of subsystem heat flows using only trajectory measurements for a single degree of freedom. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to figure out exactly how a powerful truck's engine is operating, but you're not allowed to actually look at the truck itself. All you can observe is the trailer it's pulling. By watching how that trailer bounces, lags, and moves, this mathematical trap lets us deduce exactly what the hidden engine is doing. And here is exactly how that trap snaps shut. It's a really elegant three-step process. Step 1, we observe just the cargo when the system is at equilibrium, meaning the motor isn't actively walking, and we measure its mean squared displacement.
Basically, how much does it naturally just jitter around? Step 2, we measure that exact same cargo's displacement when the motor is in active non-equilibrium motion. And step 3, we compare the two. So the absolute crucial point is this. If the cargo's active displacement is actually smaller than its equilibrium displacement, it means the heat flow is positive. It means the system is harvesting energy. Boom, we've caught a demon. Now, what's really interesting about this is how they proved it works. Before going out and hunting in the wild, the researchers didn't just assume their math was right. They tested it on a known artificial system first. They simulated a colloidal particle, basically a microscopic bead, being manipulated by an optical tweezer acting under a feedback loop. This artificial system can be explicitly programmed to act exactly like a Maxwell-demon. When they applied their statistical trap to the simulation, looking only at the bead, it deduced the true heat flow with 95% accuracy. And even better, it did this using data that is completely feasible to collect in a real-world lab, just 10,000 trajectories at 1-second durations. The trap totally works.
All right, the trap is built, tested, and validated. Welcome to Section 4, Catching a Biological Demon. Let's look at the simulation results for what's happening inside ourselves.
So the initial results under normal conditions were, well, they were rather normal. When the researchers simulated kinesin pulling its cargo under standard equilibrium thermal fluctuations, the cargo's heat flow remained negative. All this means is that under calm, baseline conditions, kinesin operates exactly like a standard conventional engine. It burns chemical fuel, does its work, and loses heat to the friction of its environment. Nothing crazy. No demon here.
But here's the thing. Biological cells are almost never calm. They are messy, highly active, and wildly turbulent places. So the researchers introduced a massive plot twist. They simulated non-equilibrium noise, essentially adding in active, chaotic fluctuations to perfectly mimic the real interior of a living cell. And suddenly, everything changed. Without the active noise, the motor just loses heat. But with the active noise, the motor's speed actually increases, and the heat flow reverses entirely. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's happening. Notice how the heat flow flips completely. Under equilibrium noise, our heat flow is firmly in the negative. But once that chaotic, non-equilibrium noise is cranked up to match real-world cellular conditions, the value flips positive. The motor isn't just, surviving the active turbulence, it is actively absorbing heat from it. Kinesin has officially crossed the line into outright demon territory. Just to put it in the researchers' exact words, kinesin transitions to a Maxwell-demon mechanism in the presence of non-equilibrium noise, with a corresponding increase in velocity consistent with experiments. Guys, this isn't just some quirky thermodynamic accounting trick. When kinesin acts like a Maxwell-demon, it actually moves faster. It literally gets better at its biological job because it is actively processing information from the chaos around it to extract energy. The implications of this are absolutely staggering. For the longest time, we viewed the turbulence of a cell as just a hurdle, something biology had to fight against and overcome. But this tells us that the molecular machinery of our cells may have actually evolved to take advantage of these active, non-equilibrium fluctuations. Biology isn't fighting the chaos, it is harvesting it. It's using information as a very real, tangible thermodynamic resource to power life at the microscopic scale. Which leaves us with a pretty profound realization. What started out as a whimsical Victorian thought experiment about a tiny demon sorting gas molecules has literally led us to the absolute cutting edge of biological physics. So the next time you move a muscle, maybe think about those microscopic couriers racing along your cellular highways. Are they just burning fuel? Or are they secretly harvesting the chaos of their environment? It really forces us to ask, did evolution design us to be powered by demons? It's an incredible thought to end on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explanator, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.